Hey Fresties, it's February. Let's talk about what books I read last month. And let me open Goodreads because I have no long-term memory. My reading goal for the year, I set it as 20 books because I didn't hit that number last year and I was pretty disappointed in myself about it because it's quite a low number. So I didn't want to overshoot, especially because I am doing a lot of self-publishing stuff this year. I'm going to be pretty busy in that realm, so I might not have as much time to read, but I kind of started off the year with a bang. Like, I started off pretty good, not gonna lie. I read 5 books in January. Well, read 5 books in January. 2 of them were audiobooks, but I'm counting them because, I mean, they count. I had this misconception about myself that I couldn't use audiobooks, like I just couldn't focus on them enough to actually absorb the story or the information, because I have tried them at 2 separate times in the past and they just didn't work for me, like something didn't click, but this time it clicked. Anyways, the first book that I read last month, one of 3 books about the same topic, because I was trying to like declutter a lot of stuff last month and I was pretty successful at it. My room is not the way that I wish it was, but you know, it is what it is. In terms of getting rid of stuff, I would say I actually did a pretty good job. And the first book that I read to help myself on that journey was Spark Joy, an illustrated masterclass on the art of organizing and tidying up by Marie Kondo. So this is the second book, the sequel to I don't remember the name of the first book, but it's the second book in her, you know, cleaning series. And this one, so much more helpful than the first one because it actually gives like tips and outlines step-by-step processes and stuff like that. Like, it goes way further into all the techniques that she talks about in the first book. And the first book, I don't know, I already talked about it before in another video, but I found it more like anecdotal than like self-help advice-y, if that makes sense. Again, I will say that not all of the tips that she gives I feel like I would apply to myself. Like, at one point she was talking about like how electronics have a smell, to like smell your belongings and your electronics and stuff, and I was just like, I don't really think I'm gonna do that. Like, I haven't noticed my electronics having a smell, but the stuff about it like sparking joy and all that, that's very helpful. And the organization techniques, especially for like drawers, very helpful. Yeah, I gave this one 4 stars because basically I just still thought that it could have had a little bit more hand-holding to it, but I did also think that that's probably a personal problem because I'm very challenged when it comes to organization and not hoarding random things. But it's a very helpful book, and if you are in the decluttering mood, it's definitely a classic that you should read. I would say you could probably even skip the first book. It's just not really necessary. I do kind of like that I read it because I feel like it gave me like the full picture, but if you're just really trying to focus on decluttering, you could just skip to the second book. The second book that I read, also on decluttering, is Declutter Like a Mother, a guilt-free, no-stress way to transform your home and your life by Ali Kasaza. I thought that Declutter Like a Mother was just like a cute title. I didn't realize that it was actually like for moms. So this book didn't really apply to me because the only children that I have are stuffed animals. I listened to this one on audiobook while I was decluttering, and I mean, I thought it was helpful. A lot of it, again, didn't apply to me, but I thought it was pretty concise and just an easy collection of tips and advice, basically. But that was basically the extent of what I thought of it. Like, it was very easy. It was information that you could probably find all of it on Google. Like, you could probably just find it in different places around the internet, which it is nice to have it all condensed into one area, but there were very few things that I found that were unique pieces of advice or things that I hadn't already heard before. So I gave that one 2 stars, and I did agree with some of the people in the Goodreads reviews that were saying it kind of felt like the whole book was just a plug for like her course that you can purchase. It did feel a little like that, but you're still getting advice from it, and at the end of the day it's still helpful. So I don't know, it was closer to 3 stars for me than 1 star. Okay, the final book that I read on decluttering last month was Decluttering at the Speed of Life, Winning Your Never-Ending Battle with Stuff by Dana K. White. This one might have been the most helpful of all three of them. It's probably tied with Spark Joy, but she talks about this concept of everything in your life being a container for stuff. Like a drawer is a container for your t-shirts, for example, but the room is a container for how many drawers you can have, and the house is a container for how many rooms that you have. So everything boils down to being a container, and the goal of a container is not to just organize things, but to actually contain the amount of items that you accumulate. So if you have too many t-shirts to fit in one drawer, you know, it's not like you need to go out and buy another drawer, or I guess another dresser, but you know, it's that you need to pare down the amount of t-shirts that you have so you are accommodating the container. That feels like something that should just be basic knowledge, and I'm sure for some people it is, and people just grasp that concept very easily and very naturally. I am not one of those people. I have definitely fallen victim to the mentality of like, oh, if I just had more storage, then all my problems would be solved. But in reality, it's like, maybe you just have too much stuff and you have to live in the current space that you're in instead of trying to change it to fit the amount of stuff that you have. That was like the most helpful tip that I found from this book. She goes about it in a very different way than Marie Kondo does, because Marie Kondo, her whole thing, especially with clothes, is like you take all of the stuff out and go through it, whereas with Dana K. White, her whole mentality is that that's the last thing you want to do, because you can't finish it all in one day, most likely, and then you're going to be like depressed and demotivated because you're messier than when you started. So her whole thing is like, you want to declutter stuff without making a mess. So it's kind of conflicting methods that I was checking out last month, but I think both of them can be helpful and useful, and you can utilize different methods for different areas and different collections of things. I gave this book 4 stars. It is closer to 5 stars for me, but I did feel like it kind of got a little repetitive, which I understand was like she even talked about how it was gonna get repetitive because it's basically the same concept but going through it room by room. It's definitely closer to 5 stars because it was very helpful and a very unique take on decluttering that I haven't seen before. Also, I just liked her writing style. I liked her personality in the book. And I will definitely be checking out more books from her. It's just, I was gonna read more decluttering books last month and I just got tuckered out of the decluttering books. Like I even checked one out on Libby and I had it and I had like been waiting for it on hold, and I was like, just give it to the next person. I can't do this right now. So after all those decluttering books, after all that nonfiction, I wanted something fiction, and I wanted something easy, comforting, especially because I was in a really bad mood at this point in the month, and I just wanted like a fun read that again was just something comforting. And when I was younger, I guess, I don't even remember what age exactly it was. My best guess would be like 6th grade. Hoot was my favorite movie. And it wasn't just because I had a crush on Logan Lerman. Something about that movie, I think it was because like I was moving into adolescence and that movie was like about middle school, and I don't know, the timing was just right. And I'm pretty sure that I did also read the book back then, but really it was the movie that did it for me.
She forgot to mention the whole reason she brought up the movie. She tried watching it after rereading the book but couldn't even finish it. Lol. It doesn't hit the way it used to. The book is definitely the better of the two.
But I have had a copy of Hoot since back then. I think it actually was my sister's and I kind of stole it. So I reread Hoot and I gave it 4 stars. Still very nostalgic for me. I really enjoy Carl Hiaasen's writing style. If I ever write a middle grade book, his style is like gonna be a big influence for me. Every time I read middle grade, I'm like, man, I want to write middle grade. But then I don't know, I never commit to it. If you've never read Hoot before, I kind of forgot that I need to like describe the book. It's basically about this kid Roy who moves from Montana to Florida. He moves all the time because of his dad's job. He does not get a very good start in Florida. He's not enjoying it. And then one day he's on the bus and he sees this kid just sprinting without any shoes on, and he's like,
why are you running? Why are you running?
What the heck? Who is this kid? It's a story about like him, you know, finding friends in Florida and coming to like Florida. And also the main plot of the book, as you could maybe guess from the title, is about these endangered owls that the kids are trying to save from being like paved over because construction. I am always like, how do I tell stuff about a story without giving too much away? It's a great book, and it is, to me, a wonderful example of what middle grade books should be. Because I enjoyed reading Hoot so much, I decided to check out Chomp, which is also by Carl Hiaasen. It's another one of his middle grade works. I got this one on audiobook, and I was nervous about it because, again, the first audiobook I listened to last month was nonfiction, which I feel like is sort of a little easier to get into as an audiobook because it's almost like listening to a podcast, which I do a lot. So I'm kind of already used to that format. But for fiction, I don't know, I had tried it before and it didn't work for me. This one totally worked for me. The narrator was just, I like could not commend him more for the job that he did. Chomp is essentially about this kid, his name is 𝘴�ㄨ𝘏, and his father Mickey. They are wildlife specialist wranglers, so they do a lot of work in like TV shows and stuff like that. And his father gets injured, so they're out of work for a while and they're starting to struggle with money. So the mom has to go away, try to make some money in China because she's a translator. And 𝘴𝘏 and Mickey get the opportunity to work on a TV show with this very notorious survivalist who is like a total fraud. So the story of the book basically is like them working on this TV show, and then there's also, get off. There's also a girl from 𝘴𝘏's school who comes along with them because she's being abused by her father, and 𝘴𝘏 and his father basically take her under their wing, and, or I guess that would be wings because it's two of them. They're just like, okay, well, come along with us, we're going to the Everglades, get away from him. Honestly, this might be a new comfort book for me because it's just so, I don't know, the story is so fun, but it's also really emotional at points, which I really appreciate that balance in a book. I don't like a book that, I mean, I do like a book that's all fun, not gonna lie, but I don't like a book that's all sad. Like, it's just not my kind of thing. I'm already depressed enough, okay? I don't need to be sad over fictional people's lives. I want to be happy about that. I need it to be an escape. Did I already say I gave this one 5 stars? I gave it 5 stars. Definitely would read it again. Probably will read it again in the upcoming years. Again, it's just a perfect example to me of what middle grade fiction can be and how good it can be and like what it should be and all the different aspects of a story that it can encapsulate. Even though it's for a younger audience, it can still have a lot of different elements and a lot of layers to it. That was definitely my favorite read of the month, and I was happy that I picked it up and that I enjoyed it so much because, like I said, I was just in such a bad mood at the end of the month, so this was like helping me pull through. I know he has at least one other middle grade book, so I'm definitely gonna read that one. I think I have read that one before. It's called Flushed, and I'm pretty sure I did read it in middle school, but I don't remember it at all. So it'll basically be going in blind. He has other works too that are adult works, so I'm very interested to check those out and see like how it differs from his middle grade writing style. Let me know what you guys read last month, or if you read a whole bunch of stuff, what your favorite thing was that you read last month, how you're doing on your 2023 reading goal. I almost said 2020. I'll be okay. And if you have any books that you're planning to pick up this month. Okay, bye!